The controversy surrounding BLACKPINK Jisoo's brother Kim Jung-hoon erupted when he was arrested on April 17 for the alleged attempted assault of a female streamer at his Gangnam home, a terrifying ordeal where the victim locked herself in a bathroom and sent desperate texts pleading for rescue after a date voucher meeting turned violent. Although police initially withheld his identity, netizens quickly connected the man to Jisoo, igniting a firestorm that resurfaced previous unverified allegations of secret filming and brought forward a woman claiming to be his wife who released harrowing photos of bruises and detailed claims of years of domestic abuse and coercive control. As public outrage grew, suspicion fell on Jisoo regarding her brother's role in her agency, BLISSOO, prompting her team to release a stern statement denying any current business or financial ties and emphasizing that she had lived independently since her teen years, while the victim herself implored the public not to attack the idol for her brother's actions. Despite the severity of the accusations, the prosecution dismissed the arrest warrant due to insufficient substantiation, leaving the legal outcome uncertain and Jisoo to navigate a professional landscape marred by an unfair guilt by association that threatened her reputation simply due to her bloodline. The man arrested at the scene was a Mr. Kim, a man in his 30s who had allegedly purchased a date voucher from the streamer for about 3 million won, roughly $2,000. These vouchers are a controversial but common part of the internet broadcasting culture in Korea, where high donations can buy a meal or a meeting with a streamer. The agreement was supposed to be simple: a dinner, some conversation, and nothing more. But according to the victim, once they arrived at Mr. Kim's home, the atmosphere shifted violently. She claimed that despite her clear refusal of contact, he attempted to force himself on her, leading to the frantic 911 call and his subsequent arrest at the scene. While the police initially referred to him only as Mr. A, the internet is rarely satisfied with anonymity, especially when a powerful family connection is suspected. It didn't take long for netizens to connect the dots. A blurred photo released by Channel A, while obscured, was enough for eagle-eyed viewers to recognize the man as Kim Jung-hoon, the older brother of BLACKPINK's Jisoo. Suddenly, what was a criminal case involving a streamer and a businessman morphed into a massive celebrity scandal. The headline shifted from man arrested for molestation to BLACKPINK Jisoo's brother in police custody. The reaction was immediate and visceral. Fans were in shock, while the general public began to scrutinize every detail of the family dynamic, dragging one of the world's biggest idols into a mess she had absolutely no hand in creating. But this wasn't the first time Kim Jung-hoon's name had been whispered in dark corners of the internet. As the news of his arrest spread, older, buried allegations began to resurface with a vengeance. A post from the previous year on an anonymous platform for office workers, Blind, had allegedly detailed a horrifying pattern of behavior. The author of that post claimed to have been secretly filmed by Kim Jung-hoon during an intimate encounter, only to find out later that he was showing the footage to his friends and bragging about it. At the time, the post was viewed with skepticism, and many articles discussing it were quickly deleted, leading to rumors that the family's influence and money were being used to silence the press. Now, with the man in handcuffs, those deleted articles looked less like a cleanup job and more like a silenced warning that everyone had ignored. The situation spiraled further when a second, even more disturbing layer was added to the story. Just days after the arrest, an Instagram account claiming to belong to Kim Jung-hoon's wife emerged with a series of devastating posts. This wasn't just about the streamer anymore. The account posted photos of bruises, medical certificate, and a lengthy handwritten letter detailing years of alleged abuse. The wife's claims painted a picture of a controlling, violent partner who monitored her phone, dictated her clothing, and allegedly forced himself on her repeatedly. She described a life of fear, where she was tracked every 10 minutes and forced to delete her social media accounts. It was a narrative that turned the public sentiment from shock into pure rage. The question on everyone's mind was, how could this be happening in the family of a global superstar? With the brother's reputation in tatters, the pitchforks inevitably turned toward Jisoo. The internet, as it often does, demanded accountability, but in the wrong direction. People began digging into her business affairs, specifically her agency, BLISSOO. Rumors flew that Kim Jung-hoon was a co-founder or an executive, implying that Jisoo was financially supporting him or that he was using her earnings to fund his lifestyle and legal defense. The credits of her recent Netflix drama were scrutinized, and when his name was spotted there, it was treated as definitive proof of a conspiracy conspiracy. The backlash was so intense that a movement to boycott Jisoo began trending, with netizens arguing that silence equaled complicity. The logic was flawed, but the emotion was real. Fans felt betrayed, and critics saw an opportunity to tear down a powerful woman for the sins of the men around her. However, the actual facts regarding the business ties were far less scandalous than the rumors suggested. It turns out that the drama credit listing was a mistake by the production company, who quickly apologized and corrected it. Furthermore, BLISSOO had to step in and issue a stern, legally worded statement that drew a hard line in the sand. They clarified that while Kim Jung-hoon had offered some advice during the initial setup of the agency, he held no position, no decision-making power, and had no financial stake. They emphasized that Jisoo had lived independently since her trainee days, starting at age 14, and was in no position to know about or intervene in her brother's private life. The statement was cold, professional, and seemingly necessary to stop the bleeding. It was a sad reality. A sister had to publicly disown her brother to save her career. The most heartbreaking part of this entire saga might be the victim's reaction to the collateral damage. The streamer, known as Ms. B, found herself in the middle of a war she didn't start. Instead of focusing on her trauma, she saw the internet attacking Jisoo, and she felt compelled to speak up. She posted on her social media pleading with the public to leave the family out of it. "The person who did wrong is him," she wrote. "Please do not criticize his family." She even mentioned that she hadn't known he was Jisoo's brother until later. It was a moment of clarity in a chaotic storm, a victim pleading for the safety of the family of her abuser. It highlighted the absurdity of the online mob mentality. The actual victim was asking for fairness, while the crowd was demanding collective punishment. Yet, the legal outcome left a sour taste in everyone's mouth. Despite the arrest on the scene and the severity of the accusations, the Seoul Central District Prosecutor's Office dismissed the warrant request for Kim Jung-hoon. The official reason cited was insufficient substantiation of the charges. In layman's terms, it essentially meant that without more concrete physical evidence beyond the testimonies, they couldn't justify keeping him detained. For the public, especially in a country where often go underpunished, this was seen as a travesty. The perception was that the system was failing again. He walked free, while the victims were left with their trauma, and Jisoo was left to clean up the reputational damage. The timing couldn't have been worse for Jisoo professionally. She was scheduled to fly to Paris for a major fashion event, a trip that is usually a celebration of style and status. In a move that surprised no one, the press event at the airport was abruptly canceled. The agency likely wanted to avoid a barrage of questions about her brother while she was trying to walk through security. But Jisoo herself decided not to hide completely. She still boarded the plane. When she arrived at the airport, she didn't duck or cover. She waved to fans, maintaining her composure. It was a powerful, silent statement. She was showing up for her job despite the chaos. The industry reaction has been mixed. While many fans have rallied behind her, praising her strength and separating her art from her family, the stain of scandal is hard to wash out. The narrative that she is somehow responsible for her brother's actions is a classic example of the guilt by association plague that infects K-pop culture. It raises a bigger question. Why do we demand that female idols be the moral gatekeepers of their entire lineage? Jisoo, the youngest in her family, was expected to police a grown man nearly 40 years old, a man she reportedly hasn't lived with in over a decade. It's an unfair burden, but in the image-obsessed world of idols, fairness rarely matters.